Every forest hides a scale problem. To us, a tree is something we can touch, climb, cut, or walk beneath. But under the right conditions, trees can become living towers, water tanks, carbon vaults, and biological machines that survive longer than civilizations.
It's so
Some are
high
real.
up.
Some belong to
The
deep history,
leaves look like
and
little
some
hands
are only
waving.
theoretical. But together, they show how far the idea of a tree can be pushed before it becomes something almost planetary. Coastal redwood. Coastal redwoods are the tallest living trees on Earth. They grow along the misty coast of California and Oregon, where fog gives them extra moisture even during dry months. The tallest known redwood, named Hyperion, reaches about 116 meters high, taller than a 35-story building. These trees can live for more than 2,000 years, and their bark can be over 30 centimeters thick. What makes them unusual is not just their height, but the way they drink from the air. Their needles can absorb water from fog, allowing them to survive where rainfall alone may not be enough. A redwood forest is not simply a group of trees. It is a vertical wall of ferns, insects, birds, and even other plants living far above the ground. Giant sequoia. Giant sequoias are not the tallest trees, but they are the most massive. They grow in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, and one tree, General Sherman, is considered the largest single-stem tree by volume. It stands about 83 meters tall and contains more than 1,400 cubic meters of wood.
Giants
For
can
comparison,
live for
if its trunk were
thousands of
carved into
years,
normal wooden boards, it could fill several large
dwarfing
houses.
everything
Giant
around
sequoias
them.
can live for over 3,000 years.
The
meaning some
coastal
were already
redwoods
alive before the
stand
Roman
as the
Empire existed.
tallest living things
On their
on
thick
Earth,
bark helps protect them from
thriving
fire,
in
and
this
fire
unique,
actually helps their cones release
fog-drenched
seeds.
environment.
What looks destructive from the outside
put its
can become
scale
part
into
of the tree's
perspective,
survival system.
The Hyperion
But this is
stands
only where the story
taller than
begins.
A 35-story
Baobab.
building,
Baobabs
reaching
are
over
titan trees of
115
storage, found in
meters
Africa,
into the sky.
Madagascar, and Australia. They are not famous for height, but for their swollen trunks, which can look wider than small houses. Some baobabs can store tens of thousands of liters of water inside their trunks. In dry landscapes, this makes them living reservoirs. Their trunks may reach more than 10 meters in diameter, and some individuals are believed to be over 1,000 years old. Although dating them can be difficult because their wood does not always form clear annual rings. Baobabs also support animals and people. Their fruit is rich in vitamin C. Their hollows can shelter wildlife. And their branches look like roots reaching into the sky. They show that a titan tree does not need to be tall. Sometimes, survival means becoming a fortress of water. Banyan tree. Banyan trees are giants that spread sideways. Instead of becoming one tall column, they send roots down from their branches. When these aerial roots reach the soil, they thicken into new trunks. Over time, a single banyan can look like an entire forest. The Great Banyan in India covers more than 18,000 square meters, roughly the area of several football fields. What makes banyans strange is that their body does not stay in one place. They expand outward, creating shaded chambers, living pillars, and a maze-like structure beneath the
The
canopy.
General Sherman stands as
biological
the
terms,
largest
this is
living
still
thing
one
on
tree.
Earth by
But visually,
volume.
it becomes
It's
a wooden city.
unbelievable how
And
massive
then
it is.
Things become far stranger, because some titan trees are not just large individuals.
The sheer
They are
scale of
survivors
the
from
giant
ancient
sequoia
worlds.
is difficult
Kauri tree.
to
Kauri trees are among the great
comprehend
ancient
until you
conifers of
see
New
it
Zealand.
next to
The
human
largest living
beings.
kauri, Taene Mahuta, stands about 51 meters
This
tall
single
and has a trunk
giant
volume of more than
sequoia
240
contains
cubic
enough
meters.
timber to
Kauri trees
frame
can
more
live for
than
well over
5
1,000 years,
average-sized
and some may
homes.
reach 2,000 years. Their trunks rise almost straight upward before branching high above the forest floor, giving them the shape of natural columns. What makes kauri important is their ecological power. Their fallen leaves and resin can change the chemistry of the soil, shaping which plants can grow nearby. In the past,
Kauri resin was so abundant that hardened pieces, known as kauri gum, were dug from old forest soils. A kauri forest is not just a collection of trees. In it is a slow chemical engine, altering the ground beneath it over centuries. Montezuma cypress. The Montezuma cypress is a titan of girth. One of the most famous examples, the tree of Tule in Mexico, has one of the widest trunks of any known tree. Its diameter is over 14 meters if measured across its broadest span, though the exact measurement is complex
Standing
because the
over
trunk is
100
deeply
feet
folded and
tall,
irregular.
the
This tree
massive
is estimated to be
trunk
more
of the
than 1,000
baobab
years old,
dwarfs
and some
even the
estimates go higher.
largest of elephants
Unlike the clean
that
tower
seek
shape of a
refuge
redwood,
in
the
its
Montezuma
shade.
cypress looks
Nimbus.
almost geological. Its bark folds
Inside
into
the
ridges,
massive
valleys,
trunk,
and strange shapes
the
that seem
spongy
carved by
tissue
time.
acts as
For
a
comparison,
reservoir,
standing beside
capable
it
of
is less like
holding
standing near a
thousands
plant,
of liters
and
of
more like
water.
standing beside a cliff that happens to be alive. And yet, even these giants are young compared with the forests of deep time. And Carboniferous scale tree. Scale trees were ancient tree-like plants that dominated swamp forests during the Carboniferous period, roughly 359 to 299 million years ago. They were not trees in the modern sense. Many belonged to
Known as
groups
the
related
tree
to
of
club
life,
mosses, which today
the
are usually
baobab
small plants.
provides
But in the
essential
Carboniferous,
water
some
and
grew over
sustenance
30 meters
during
tall.
the harsh,
Their trunks
dry
had patterned
season.
bark that looked like scales, and
The
they lived in
baobab,
warm, wet
an
swamps
icon
filled
of
with
the
giant
savanna.
insects and early amphibians.
Despite its massive
when these forests
size,
died,
the
many were
tree's
buried
true
in
age
oxygen-poor
often
mud.
remains a mystery
Over
due
millions
to
of
its
years, their
unusual
remains
growth
became coal.
rings.
This means that some of the coal burned during the Industrial Revolution came from ancient Titan forests. Their legacy was not just biological, it became geological, industrial, and atmospheric. Ancient conifer forests. After the swamp forests came the age of conifers. These trees were better adapted to drier conditions, with tough leaves and seeds that did not need standing water to reproduce.
Contrasting the slender
Some ancient conifers
acacia,
formed vast
the
forests
stout
during the
baobab
Mesozoic era,
shows us
the
that
age
in
of
this
dinosaurs.
environment,
Modern
greatness
relatives
means
include
width
pines,
and
firs,
storage,
redwoods,
not
and
just
araucarias.
The
Some living
baobab,
conifers still show this ancient design. Bristlecone pines, for
a
example,
true
can live for more
living
than
fortress.
4,800 years, though they are not enormous in size. Their power is endurance. A tree can be a titan, not because it is huge, but because it defeats time. A bristlecone may stand through the rise and fall of empires, losing branches, twisting in cold wind, and still producing needles. But at the extreme edge of imagination, trees could become even larger. Hypercanopy titan tree. A hypercanopy titan tree is a hypothetical type of tree that would grow far taller than any known redwood. On Earth, trees face limits because they must pull water upward against gravity. Beyond a certain height, water transport becomes extremely difficult. This is one reason real trees do not grow a kilometer tall. But on a planet with lower gravity, thicker air, and constant moisture, the limit could change. A hypercanopy tree might reach several hundred meters high, forming a canopy above normal clouds. Its trunk would need to be extremely wide, with internal channels strong enough to move water upward without collapsing. This has not been confirmed anywhere. It is a theoretical idea. But if such trees existed, a forest of them would look less like woodland and more like a skyline made of living columns. Water-storing titan tree. A water-storing titan tree would be an extreme
What
version of the
appears
baobab.
to be a grove is actually
In dry alien
a
deserts
single
or future engineered
massive
ecosystems,
organism.
such a tree might evolve
The
or be
banyan
designed to hold
spreads
massive amounts of water
horizont-
inside its trunk. Its body could act like a biological tank, swelling during wet seasons and shrinking during drought. On Earth, some plants already store water in stems, leaves, or trunks. Cacti and
Though it
baobabs show that
resembles
this
a
strategy
forest,
is real.
this
A
entire
titan version
grove
might store
is a
hundreds of
single
thousands of
banyan
liters,
organism.
enough to support animals,
The thick
insects,
trunks
fungi,
you
and
see
smaller
are
plants
actually
around it.
roots
For comparison,
descending from the
it could
mother
function like an
tree.
oasis with bark. What makes this idea powerful is its ecological role. A single tree could change the survival chances of everything living near it. Ocean-rooted titan tree. An ocean-rooted titan
Stress.
tree is another hypothetical form,
From the
but it has
familiar
roots in real
giants,
biology.
we journey
Mangroves
back to
already
the deep
grow in
past,
salty coastal water
where
and
flora
use special
evolved
systems to deal with
mysterious
salt,
ways.
unstable mud, and low oxygen. A titan version could exist in shallow seas, with roots spreading across kilometers of seabed. Its trunk might rise above the waves, while its roots create reefs, nurseries, and barriers against storms. For comparison, coral reefs are built by tiny animals, but an ocean-rooted titan tree would build a coastline through plant growth. Its roots could trap sediment, protect fish, and slow waves before they reach land. Such a tree has not been observed, but the basic ingredients exist in smaller forms. It is a reminder that the line between forest and ocean is not as clear as it seems.
It makes
Ice
you
World
feel
Titan tree.
incredibly small.
An ice
doesn't
world
it?
titan tree would be a theoretical plant adapted to frozen planets or moons. On Earth, trees struggle in extreme cold because water freezes, growth slows, and sunlight may be weak for long periods. But some real plants
The
already
kauri
survive near
tree,
the edges of this
found
limit.
in the
Conifers
northern
in boreal
reaches of
forests
New
endure
Zealand,
winters below minus
is
40
one of the
degrees
most
Celsius.
ancient
An ice
and
world titan
largest
tree would
tree
need dark
species
surfaces
in
to
the
absorb weak
world.
sunlight, antifreeze, like chemicals in its tissues, and roots that reach geothermal warmth below the ice. It might grow slowly, perhaps adding only a few millimeters each year. Over tens of thousands of
Injuries.
years, it could become enormous.
This
Its size
cross-section
would not come
clearly
from speed,
illustrates
but from
the
patience.
impact of
In
kauri
such a world,
litter.
a forest might be
The
almost silent,
decomposing
growing on
resin
the time scale of
creates this
glaciers.
distinctive
Floating titan tree. A floating titan tree is a speculative organism that would live in thick atmospheres, possibly on a low-gravity planet or gas-rich world. It would not be a tree in the strict Earth sense, because it might not root in soil. Instead, it could float using gas-filled chambers, broad leaves, or balloon. Like tissues, scientists have imagined floating life in planetary atmospheres before, especially in discussions of gas giants or dense alien skies, but no such life has been confirmed. A floating titan tree might drift through clouds, absorbing sunlight above storm layers and drawing nutrients from airborne particles. Its roots could hang downward like nets. For comparison, it would be less like a forest and more like a living island in the sky. Then the idea
This is the
of a tree
legendary
begins to
El
break open
Árbol del
completely.
Tule.
Magnetic
It has the
titan tree.
largest trunk
A magnetic
circumference
titan
known
tree
in the
is highly
world,
theoretical.
measuring
it would be a
over
life form shaped by a world
119
with strong
feet.
magnetic fields,
Look at
metallic
how
soils,
small we
or
look
unusual
next
chemistry.
to it.
On Earth,
It would take
plants do
30
not grow by
people holding
magnetism, but
hands
some
to wrap
organisms can
around
respond
it.
to magnetic fields, and many life processes depend on electrical
The
signals.
tree of
A
Thule
speculative
is a
magnetic tree
Montezuma
might use
cypress,
metal-rich tissues to
famous
orient
for
growth,
having the
protect
widest
itself from
trunk
radiation,
circumference
or channel
of
electrical
any
energy
tree in
during
the
storms.
world.
Its trunk could contain mineral layers, making it heavier and more conductive than ordinary wood. Lightning might not simply damage it. Under the right conditions, it could become part of its energy cycle. This is not known biology, it belongs to cautious speculation, but it shows how different a tree might become if life evolved under rules unlike Earth's planetary titan tree. A planetary titan tree is the most extreme idea of all. It is not a confirmed organism, and it may never exist naturally. It is a hypothetical megastructure of biology, a tree-like system
The
so
tree
large
of Thule,
that it influences
with a
an entire
circumference
planet.
of 190
Its roots could
feet,
spread through
it is the
continents.
widest
Its
tree in
canopy
the
could
world,
affect
a
rainfall.
living
Its seasonal
monument
cycles
that
could change
dwarfs
oxygen
these
levels,
travelers.
carbon storage, and temperature on Earth. Forests already shape climate on a massive scale. The Amazon helps move moisture through the atmosphere. Boreal forests store huge amounts of carbon phytoplankton in the oceans, produce a large share of Earth's oxygen. A planetary titan tree would combine these roles into one vast living network. It would not just live on a world, it would become part of how that world breathes. From the tallest redwoods to the widest cypresses, From ancient coal forests to theoretical trees floating in alien skies, Titan trees reveal a simple truth. Life becomes astonishing when time, chemistry, and environment push it to the edge. A tree may begin as a seed, small enough to hold between two fingers. But given centuries or thousands of years, it can become a tower, a shelter, a water source, a climate engine,
While this
or a fossil
modern
fuel
club
that
moss
changes
is
human
barely
history.
6
And
inches
if life
tall,
exists beyond Earth,
its
the strangest
extinct
forests in the
relative,
universe
the
may not
scale
look
tree,
like forests at all.
could-
They may rise through oceans, cling to ice, drift through clouds, or stretch so wide that an entire planet moves beneath their shadow.